Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome back to the Watch Box. I hope everyone had a lovely holiday weekend. I went home to see my parents. They're always amazed and bewildered by the stuff I do with watches. So like every other one of you, I have complete difficulty explaining what I do to my folks. That said, I'm here with you, and we have a transcendent understanding, so let's dive straight into watches tonight. First things first, we're talking Breguet, Vacheron, dive watches, and best buys tonight. I want to do a quick wrist shot because, as we say, sometimes the words fail and pictures can speak 1,000 words. Now we're looking at my dual met chronograph. This was a 2010 limited edition of 200 pieces in white gold. A spectacular piece with a Vacheron chronograph, 2 parallel drivetrains, and I'll actually give you a look at the other side of this watch because you've seen the dial many times. You've never seen the case back, or rarely seen this case back, but it's worth a gander. 2 powertrains, 2 mainspring barrels, German silver bridges, Côte de Rayon, or a soleil or sunburst pattern emanating out from the balance, free-sprung balance, 3 Hertz, 21.6, 50-hour power reserve, ×2, and a proper column wheel mono-push chronograph. All right, so that's my baby, and I'm going to be wearing this one for a while. I resolved to wear this watch for a good solid 2 weeks, then I'll switch over. But again, we do like to hop from watch to watch, and there's no better place to do so than thewatchbox.com for buying, trading, or selling. It is the most fun you can have on the internet. Point and click, watch one of my videos, and browse our inventory. Yes, I put up the JLC page because that's how I style, but we have all major brands, including some that might surprise you. We just picked up Laurent Ferrier on the Govberg side, so we have some pre-owned examples available on the Watchbox side. Okay. Poll is live, guys. I am posting the poll in the live chat box. You can start voting right now. We're going to jump straight into this or that for the evening. Slightly Basel themed, but we're kind of getting away from the Basel coverage, so we need to embrace something that's a known quantity alongside a Basel debutante. So, live audience poll, by the way, guys. Live chat, you can see the link, you can vote now. We are going second sons, this or that. We all know that at Breguet, the Type 20 and La Tradition are the joint flagships. We also know that at Patek Philippe, the Nautilus is the king of the heap when it comes to sports watches. But nevertheless, the Breguet Marine 5517, now in titanium, and the Patek Philippe Aquanaut 5167, the well-known standby since 2007, are equally impressive and in many ways fly under the radar and give you more for your money, especially considering the markups on the Nautilus at the moment. Okay, Breguet Marine 5517. This is the first overhaul of the Breguet Marine collection in a good 14 years. A big step in what I feel is the right direction. It's still a step into the unknown because the look of the watch changed so dramatically. Now, the 5517 you see here is titanium, so 40 millimeters by 11.5 millimeters titanium alloy. That 11.5 is the thickness. A Baselworld 2018 debut, part of a collection of 3 new marine models. In my opinion, of the 3, rose gold, white gold, and titanium, the titanium is the one to own. Integrated lugs likely to polarize. Of course, that means OEM straps only unless you go highly custom. Off-center sunburst dial. This has always been a highlight of the Marine, but it's differently executed now. And off-center sunburst now features luminescent Roman numerals, and you can see how the sunburst now radiates out from the marquee at 12. That's a lot like the practice of Chopard on the LU Chopard, the LUC models. So we've seen this before, but it's a fresh look for Breguet. Now, everything else that's etched into the dial is done with traditional rose lathe. You can see that with the numerals now luminescent. The watch is more visible at night, but it's quite a step away from the Marine aesthetic that we knew before. Now here's the thing, caliber 777A is state of the art. Automatic 55-hour power reserve, beautifully executed, richly finished. It features a free-sprung index. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. The 55-hour power reserve and the free-sprung index are backed by an anti-magnetic silicone hairspring, so this is very much the heart of a sports watch in terms of durability. 100-meter water resistance thanks to screw-down crown and screw-in case back. Display case back with the actual anchor horns. If you imagine the escape pallet and the escape wheel, the actual horns of the pallet fork are now made of silicone in addition to the hairspring. Okay, so 18,800 US. Which puts it head-to-head with the Patek Philippe Aquanaut. Now, the 5167A, like I said, has been with has been with us for quite a while. The watch has been upgraded in some detail respects, such as the addition of a silicone hairspring. But for the most part, this is the watch aesthetically, dimensionally, and mechanically that we first saw at the 10th anniversary of the Aquanaut in 2007. Now, it still has a lot to recommend it. Also 40 millimeters. This one's in steel versus the Breguet Marines titanium. By the way, guys, you just joining us, I am posting the link to our poll. You can vote in real time between these two. We're going to update the poll throughout the episode. But this one is 8.1 millimeters thick versus 11.5 for the Breguet. That is a big advantage. Now, it does feature a stamped dial with a geosphere pattern rather than the guilloche cut of the Breguet. You can see the stamped dial details. It's handsome, but it's neither as sophisticated as the gradient on the Nautilus nor as artisanally crafted as the dial on the Breguet. I will say, however, that hands and numerals are white gold applique, so in that respect, no costs cut. Now, Caliber 324 SC is just not as sophisticated as what's in the Breguet. It has a 40-hour power reserve. It's 35 to 45. We're going to average that out to 40. No hacking, but it does have a quick set date, 4 Hz, 28.8 beat rate, Spiromax, so it has the silicone hairspring, and Gyromax, so it's free sprung. But it is a very thin caliber, and despite these upgrades to make it a bit more robust, it's still very much a dress watch caliber doing business in a sports watch. But it does boast 120-meter water resistance versus the 100 for the Breguet, so it's nice to have that little extra margin. The watch does feature a steel deployant on that rubber strap that Patek Philippe describes as composite, but the steel deployant is both nicely made and a reassuring addition that will prevent droppage while donning or removing. Now, $18,940 US versus $18,800 for the new Breguet. Here's where you really have to put on your thinking cap, because the elephant in the room separating these two watches is not a few millimeters of thickness. It's the resale value of the Patek versus the Breguet. Now, there's some people like me who buy to hold forever. We know what we like. We don't have any second thoughts. We buy with cash, and we pretty much close the door once the horse is back in the barn. So if you're going to buy the watch to hold forever, buy the one you like better. If you are the type to flip through a collection and cycle through your watches, at some point you're going to wonder, what can I get for my sports watch when I sell it? And that's where the Aquanaut is going to sell for something very close to its retail. And quite frankly, you're going to take a hit with the Breguet. Substantively, the Breguet is beautifully made and technologically on par or above what the Aquanaut offers, but in terms of esteem and standing and resale, the Aquanaut is on an entirely different plane. So I would say technologically and for audacity, I give the Breguet top marks, but if I were picking myself, I would choose the Patek Philippe of these two. Not because I plan to sell, but because it stood the test of time. It's a little bit more water resistant, and I like that when I'm dealing with a nearly $20,000 watch in water. And I also prefer the particular integration of this composite strap and the option of putting standard OEM or aftermarket straps on it versus being stuck with Breguet's quirky integrated lug design. Okay, so let's see what our voters are deciding. Okay, I can see right here, for Ranger Joe is saying for 18K I would get a Royal Oak Offshore. I can see Hachizenki saying Comrade Putin would enjoy the Breguet. I don't think that Breguet is nearly big enough or gold enough or expensive enough for any member of Putin's entourage, much less Putin himself. That said, I can see most of you are siding with me by an almost 4-to-1 margin picking the Patek. We're going to continue to update this. Those of you just joining, I'm posting the link to our poll in the chat box, and you can vote right now. I can see Clive Minotaur Wrangler is saying, ugh, that Breguet. I'm not sure if that means you're a fan or not. And I can see Dave Lemieux saying, not a fan of the Breguet, but it could wear on me over time. It is technically superior to the Patek Philippe. There's an interesting sailboat racing themed Breguet limited edition available only to the team at the moment. I'm not going to highlight that until you can actually buy it, but there is one more version of this family that you currently cannot buy. It's gorgeous, and it has a blue dial. It's beautiful. We'll get into that one more if it ever becomes available, but for now, titanium and the brown dial, it looks like most of us are going with the Patek. Whereas Manny Manster is saying that Patek is a dog. Sorry, guys. All right, so vive la différence. We have different opinions, and that's a good thing. All right, quick summary. Stay with me when the broadcast ends. Tim_Masso on Instagram. I like to update frequently. I've posted videos of the Zenith Dayfi El Primero 21 and a very cool Moser Endeavor Moon on the caseback side in the last week. New stuff posted daily. Get to see the world through my eyes on my Instagram page. Join in the fun. It continues after the show. Comment, by the way, and subscribe if you're watching this recorded. I really appreciate the feedback, and I super duper appreciate your subscriptions. All right, wrist shots. I asked and you answered. Adam K. starting us off, showcasing his JLC Master Control. This watch was the star of SIHH 2017. Well, he's enhanced it with a gorgeous custom suede blue leather strap that suits it to a T. Of course, the calibrations on the dial and the skeleton syringe-style hands are blue, so it's a perfect match. Itai F shares a Panaristi Purist's choice. This is him with a Panerai Luminor Marina PAM 177 44mm in titanium. That's a gorgeous chronometer you have there. And Brent L tracks time and calendar with his Oris Day Pointer. Of course, Oris, one of their emblematic complications, one of the few complications for which they're known since the 1930s, is the indicator date or the indicator calendar, and this watch has that in spades. Gorgeous watches. Send yours, wrist shots, composed shots, caseback shots, any shots of your watch that you want to see on my screen to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. Okay. Viewer mail-in questions tonight. Vacheron Constantin dive watches that are not Submariners and watches for ingénieurs/engineers to be. Okay, guys, Tim's mom asks, and I swear she actually asks this, during Easter, Tim, you used to like Vacheron Constantin, but you never mentioned them anymore. What happened? A highly related question from Kunal P. Tim, I know that Vacheron Constantin is part of the traditional big three of high horology, at least in Switzerland, but it seems that we've taken to discussing them as something less and possibly a fourth, fifth, or even worse if you count Grand Seiko Credor. The likes of Lange, independents like Journe and Laurent Ferrier, Romain Gauthier, or even what Bulgari and Breguet are doing today. Their stuff is damn nice. Where is VC these days? And guys, I want you to chime in here. How do you think of Vacheron today? Do you think of them as big three or an also-ran? And what would you change to bring them back? Here's my response to my mom and to Kunal. Okay. VC is where Audemars Piguet was in approximately 2011, just before François-Henri Benamia, their new CEO, cleaned house in every way. Back then, AP had too much production, too little focus, too many special editions to the point that they were no longer special, and arguably an overdependence on one model line, and not even the Royal Oaks, the offshores specifically. But there was so much that was right and wonderful in the bones of the manufacturer, and that's where Vacheron is. Right now, Vacheron's making too many watches. They have too little focus. I don't know what they stand for specifically. What do they want me to think when I think Vacheron? That's the question they need to answer. And they are arguably too dependent on the overseas collection, which nevertheless I will defend at length and exhaustively as one of the best values in high horology sports watches, but they are where AP was in 2011, meaning they also have incredible in-house savoir-faire, the ability to finish watches to the highest degree, métier d'art, enameling, guilloche, engraving, gem setting, miniature painting, marquetry, all in-house. And they also have a real heritage that others, Breguet, would kill for. So here's what VC needs to do. First of all, forward your VC questions for next week's VC Mono Brand Special. I'm announcing it here, but I'm going to do next Monday for Mailbag an all Vacheron show. So send Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com your questions or comments about Vacheron. We're doing a VC-only show next Monday, and this was prompted largely by my mom. So Mom, if you're watching, thank you, and I'm counting on your view to help boost my numbers next week. So VC has come in for most recent criticism because its 2018 focus was the 56 collection, and because specifically the 56 collection, and I'm pointing to you, self-winding, contains one customer caliber that is not Geneva seal. It is essentially a Cartier MC 1904 made by Richemont's movement operation Val Fleurier and finished by Vacheron. Now the watch does include a handsome case, a dial that is richly appointed with white gold indices and a double finish center and hour track. This is a beautiful watch, but I can understand how going off the Geneva seal and using a customer caliber can inflame passions, especially when it was clearly done to make the watch attainable for around $11,000, $10,000. That said, what has Vacheron stood for traditionally? They were the établisseur par excellence, the company that would take someone else's movement and make it spectacular, case it with lugs, caseband, and bezel that no one would forget. Finish it exquisitely, and in the end, make that watch their own and immortal by improving the basic package. So, which all-time great Vacherons were not in-house calibers? How about almost all of them? How about the legendary Model 6087 Corne de Vache? That's right, the famed cow horn that was revived just in the last 2 years. This is an immortal, and yet it used a Valjoux 23 Bausch in a case that was quintessentially Vacheron. How about the Thunderbird, reference 6287? Arguably the most famous Vacheron sports watch before the 222. That used caliber 1072 that was basically a JLC automatic, finished to the highest degree by Vacheron and cased in an unforgettable package. How about the reference 222 itself? The Vacheron sports watch for all time. Overseas, I respectfully disagree that you claim sole throne at Vacheron among the sports watch royalty. But this is the emperor. If the overseas is the king, this is the emperor. Once again, JLC 920 Bausch as shared with the original Nautilus 3700 and the first 5402 Audemars Piguet Jumbo, the Royal Oak, the 1972 Genta. That's right. But none of these with in-house calibers. None of them. Finished exquisitely, but not in-house calibers. Now, true, VC still uses some customer calibers, like that 1326 in the 56 self-winding. But now there is also some traditional stuff that's spectacular, like the JLC-based 1003. The difference is that ultra-thin caliber is built and finished by Vacheron in solid gold. So, yeah, up alongside the ranks of FP Journe, making watch movements out of gold. A lot of people don't even know that Vacheron makes this movement. It's worth your while. It's in the 1955 extra plot. Now, here's the thing. Don't overlook the fact that this year, while Vacheron was releasing the 56, and remember, 2 of the 56 use in-house calibers that are Geneva seal, but VC also released a stunning Traditionnel tourbillon that knocked my socks off. Why? Well, first of all, it uses a full platinum case with a caliber 2160 that is a peripheral rotor automatic, Geneva Hallmark certified with an 80-hour power reserve. Did Patek make a peripheral rotor automatic? They did, the caliber 350, and they gave up on it in disgrace. It was a huge failure. VC makes this work in a tourbillon. Moreover, on the other side, it's glorious because this watch has a solid platinum dial. Beautiful granular platinum dial with white gold hands and indices, platinum clasp, platinum case, platinum thread in the navy blue alligator leather strap. It's part of the Excellence Platine collection. It's a very special watch. When you're putting out product like this, people don't question your horological credentials. Moreover, some of the best VC models of recent history, like for instance the 47101 salmon dial that you see right here, with its incredible Lemania-based 1141 column wheel chronograph caliber, that was not a Geneva Hallmark finished watch. No one would dispute its finish, its originality, its character, or its timeless appeal. But that was neither a manufacturer movement nor Geneva seal. Do we love it? That's like the horological IQ test. Yeah, we do. Or, I might even say more pointedly, a test whether or not you have soul. If you don't like this, you got to replace that smoldering coal in your heart with a human soul. This thing is sizzling. All right. Now, next week we're doing an all VC episode, and we're going to be focusing on some modern marvels that prove that Vacheron's broad mastery ranges farther than you ever believed. Watches that are crazier, finer, more complicated, and in some cases more accessible than you ever thought high horology could be. Are you guys ready for the Sputnik? Because in 2007, Vacheron was 10 pieces. It has a star wheel movement, like the AP star wheel, but executed with a translucent blue dial, featuring an orbital display, a digital display of time, and yes, a gold Sputnik. VC did this, and they did other crazy stuff that you're going to love. Next week, VC monobrand show. Monday mailbag at thewatchbox.com. Send your questions because we're going to have fun with this. Okay. Bump. So here's a question right here. Freddie P saying, glad Tim mentioned resale value in the this or that. And then we have El Senor Jesus. What about the spectacular Lamagna post 321 chronograph movement VC uses? That's right. That's the caliber 1141. It's the caliber that was in that watch we just saw. It's still used by Vacheron, manufactured and finished in-house. They've also made some improvements to it in terms of beat rate and power reserve, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I can see right here Kiki Fry saying that solid gold movement. And I can see Solid Snake 2011, I'm assuming that's the abbreviation. I want a review of the Corne de Vache so badly. You and me both, and that's coming, but we're going to do a little bit of a pressy next week, so tune into my show. We're also going to talk about how you can get into a Vacheron for under $10,000. And believe me, you've got more than a few options that are going to surprise you there. Okay, right here. I can see Solid Snake 2011 said I would buy VC over AP any day. And I would say 7 out of 10 times I would agree with you. Great stuff hiding in plain sight. Okay, so Mohammed asks, okay, Tim, I like the dive watch genre, but I would also like to steer clear of overexposed brands like Rolex, Omega, and Breitling. How much dive watch can I get below the price of a Rolex sub? Okay, so Mohammed, I've got some qualifiers. Let's define our parameters first and foremost. You're saying no Submariner and less than the price of a Submariner, so I'm going to pick the most popular sub. So our no Submariner price, our sub price, is going to be $8,550 because that is the price of a Submariner 116610LN, the sub C with the date. Also, I'm going to say that we have no Super Oceans, no Submariners, and no Seamasters. So what's left? Quite a good deal. These watches are all going to come in under your $85,500 maximum price. Okay, Blancpain Bathyscaphe. The 50 Fathoms Bathyscaphe does not get the respect it deserves. It's a wonderful watch. It's the 50 Fathoms for those of us who don't have a fashionista or glitterati sensibility about our dive watches, with absolutely the same mechanical and hermetic specification as the larger, more glam rock 5015. So this is a watch that came out in 2013, 43 millimeters. We're going to go with the steel version. It's got a ceramic bezel. It's 13.5 millimeters thick versus roughly 15.5 for the 5015. So this is a watch you could absolutely wear under at least a suit jacket cuff. Now the dial is a sunburst rather than the gloss that you'll find on its big brother. And it's a little bit more low-key in that most of these watches feature all satin finish. They wear better on a strap too, in my opinion, than the 5015. Now this one's on a NATO strap, which is a spectacular OEM option. You can actually pick this up in steel with the caliber 1315. Now we need to talk about this. This is the same movement that's in its big brother. It is an automatic with a 5-day power reserve. Exquisitely hand finished. It has an unusual sort of sunburst, dressage, or satin grain across its bridges, but when you get to the screw heads, they're black polished with chamfered slots. When you get to the edge of each bridge, it has beautiful mirrored, rounded, hand-laid anglage, not the hideous machined angle that you see a lot of sports watch movements assuming with a display case back. This has nothing to hide. Blackened 18-karat frosted finished rotor. It's also a free sprung balance with a silicone hairspring, so it's both shock resistant and anti-magnetic. How shock resistant? Well, this is effectively the automatic version of the 13RO sports watch or dress watch caliber. The 13RO manual wind dress watch caliber became the automatic 1315, and according to Mark Hayek, you can mountain bike with the 13RO. How does he know? He tried it. This watch comes from that DNA. You can also get, for the same money, by the way, that's about $7,500 to $8,000, so just below our target. You can also get, for less money, so we're within the same price bracket, the Chopard LUC Pro 1 Diver. These were made from about 2004 to 2009, so you're talking a stainless steel 42 millimeter automatic dive watch that is gorgeous. It's part of the LU Chopard line, 65-hour power reserve, COSC chronometer, caliber 496 micro rotor automatic. And again, it's a chronometer from the LUC collection with pedigree that counts for refinement, finish, and stature. This is a gorgeous watch and probably the least common that you're going to see on the list tonight. Now, that said, we're not going to be focused so narrowly on the Swiss because the Japanese also make wonderful things. And on this show, we can have nice things. So the Grand Seiko SPGA 31 is a watch that you really need to consider. This is the titanium version of the SPGA 29, which means it's 146 grams and you can wear its 44 millimeter size on a smaller wrist like mine. 200-meter diver, titanium. It's a spring drive diver. So you get a 3-day power reserve, a power reserve scale on the gauge. You get that automatic winding convenience that you expect on a dive watch. This one puts the chronometer back in the case with deviation of plus or minus 15 seconds a month versus -4 + 6 per 24 hours for a Swiss COSC chronometer. Of course, a continuously sweeping, smooth spring drive hand motion gives this watch more than just a unique aesthetic. It is mechanically distinct and it has a wonderful bracelet with a burly micrometric extension. This is a watch that you can pick up $6,700 new, under $5,000 pre-owned. Finally, I'm a homeboy. JLC Master Compressor Diving Navy Seals Automatic. This is the steel 42 millimeter model that came out a year after the rest of the collection. This is a 2010 model, now discontinued. Automatic, 43-hour power reserve, 300-meter diving depth, compressor crowns, easy to operate with your hands gloved wet of your sweat, ceramic bezel. They made 1,500 of these. This was allegedly the one the SEALs asked for because they thought the other ones were too bulky and too big. So this one wears easily on a smaller wrist. It's only about 12.5 millimeters thick, so it's as thin as a Submariner. On the vulcanized rubber steel bracelet, you cannot do any better. Double deployment clasp with twin micrometric adjustments, all links removed by screws, not spring bars. All right. That's $6,500 to $7,500, depending on whether you buy it on a rubber strap or the bracelet. Okay, wrist shots. I asked, you answered. Let's see what we got. Adam O flies back and flies forward tonight with his Lange 1815 flyback chronograph and his SRT hot rod. We have Clarence W combining wheels and wings with his IWC Big Pilot's watch and Porsche Panamera GTS, driving in style. And Matt F makes everyone jealous with the tantalum totem of good fortune, the FP Journe Chronomètre Bleu. Spectacular, guys. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com. And our final feature tonight, Zachary Y. Hi, Tim. I'm about to receive my BS in engineering, and my family has offered to buy me a watch to commemorate the occasion. Your family's awesome. I thought it might be fun to match the degree to a watch with a technician's watch like a Rolex Milgauss, but I'm not sure that the budget supports ambitions that grand. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, I do. Okay, first of all, a modern Milgauss, there are now two versions, the GV and the Z Blue that you see right there, costs $8,200 US, so that's our high bar, that's our upper limit. We have to come in under the bar. Let's not rule out, but consider it the upper range of possibility. As in calculus, we're setting our limits early. Now, since IWC of Schaffhausen has run with this genre arguably more than any other firm, remember the Milgauss disappeared between 1988 and 2007, let's stick with the IWC theme. By the way, guys, can we throw up the poll? What's our poll result with the Patek and the Breguet at the moment? How are we doing there? It's a rout. I'm guessing, this is not final, but I'm guessing that the Patek is going to take it. All right, so back to our Ingenieur suggestions. Don't rule out vintage. Let's start with the most obvious, turning back the clocks to 1955. That's right. In 1955, Doc Brown's Ingenieur 666 was the new hotness. Now, the Ingenieur 666 today can be obtained in good condition in steel. It's about 36.5 millimeters for under $7,000. Now, on occasion, the reference 666 AD, which is automatic with the date, will pop up within that price bracket, or at least under $8,000. This is what I'd go for personally. Just consider you have options, date or no date. No date's going to cost less. Now, these are collectible watches that will never be worth less than they are at their current purchase price. You maintain them, you will not lose. I can't imagine you'll sell your graduation watch, though. But they're also small by modern standards at 36.5 and less durable. I wouldn't want to shock one of these. I wouldn't want to crack a plexiglass crystal, and I wouldn't want to subject a 60-plus-year-old watch to water. So all that said, I would say consider that they do have the IWC caliber 85 in-house Peloton winding system manufacture movement. So that's a real feather in their cap, considering not all engineers have been in-house calibers since. Now, sadly, for us collectors who eschew hype, the market has discovered and priced the 1976 IWC Jumbo Engineer, the Gerald Genta, the 1832, accordingly. This is now a $20,000 plus watch, so it's beyond the purview of this feature. However, I will say, Zach, consider it a later goal for when you've made some money or invented a time machine. Now, 1989 to 1992, now we're talking collectible watches again. That brings us almost into the modern era, right on the cusp. We're almost 3 decades out, but it's here that we encounter a true collectible whose window of affordability is closing, and that is the Engineer 3508. Now, this is a watch that is a legend. This was probably the first modern attempt at a commercially available watch that could withstand the immense magnetic fields and flux densities of work in proximity to a medical MRI. So an MRI device was the bar that was set for this watch, which is why this is also known as the 500,000 ampere per meter. You can see it's right on the dial. That was not a maximum, that was a minimum. The watch was tested beyond this. Now here's the thing. The model included a highly robust full bracelet in its most desirable variants. You would want to get one of these on the full bracelet, minimally refinished with the bevels, the highlights, and the satin elements complete. Not only is it better value, but because the watch features idiosyncratic lugs, you don't want to have to worry about strap replacement. I'll also say that it's caliber 35790 based on the ETA 2892A2, but represents more IWC than ETA engineering, is a classic in and of itself. It is among the most extensively reworked ETA abouches of all time, and you can see it right there. A niobium zirconium balance spring and amagnetic escapement components were included. Now, manufacturing the hairsprings was a nightmare, and most were discarded. Production was brief, 89 to 92. Now, guesstimations from collectors specify at least 1,400 made, but no more than 2,800 units shipped, so it's rare. Factor in attrition and examples that have been poorly treated or over-refinished, and you have a smaller pool of eligible watches for a collector. That said, it's a mighty mite at 34 millimeters, but the case does wear more like a 36, with the full bracelet and case integration, characteristic of its Gerald Genta-inspired design. So consider it more like a 36, but because it's small and obscure, prices haven't gone nuts yet. Today, these are $5,000 to $7,000 watches, depending on condition and accessories. This state of affairs will not last. Now, white dials exist, but the model to own, white dials exist, of course, so pick your poison, but the model to own is an Engineer 3508 with a dark dial on a bracelet in excellent condition. Finally, we have the modern era. From 1991 to 2001, a JLC-powered reference 3521 was available, which is unique because it is a chronometer-certified IWC Engineer. There are not many COSC-certified IWCs out there. To get it in, yep, that's right, it's a chronometer, and that's cool. To get it with a JLC 889 certified as a chronometer makes it doubly rare because you rarely see an IWC that's COSC, and you rarely see a JLC movement that's likewise. That said, it's still 34 millimeters, though 120 millimeters water resistant. A durable watch, but petite. Let's move into the modern era stylistically, and therein we find the reference 3227 from 2005. Really, 2005 to 2008, this watch had a short run, but it was better than the models that followed. It is the one to own. Now, thoroughly modern, and it stood the test of time because 2005 is now 13 years ago. This still looks great. 4-year production run, and so much more interesting than the 40mm Sellita-powered IWC 3239 that succeeded this 42.5mm watch. Now, you can get the 3227 in titanium or in steel, 120 meters water resistant, or 80,000 amperes per meter, so it is effectively a Milgauss in that sense. This one uses the in-house IWC caliber 80110. It has a manufacturer pedigree that the subsequent IWC Engineer 3239 did not have. So this is a beautiful movement with the Peloton winding system, a 46-hour power reserve, nicely executed and highly shock resistant. Also 42 millimeters versus the 34s we've been talking about. The one to get is the titanium AMG reference 3227-02. It features titanium, yes, but it is bead blasted titanium, a media blasted finish that is gorgeous and unique. Case and bracelet. This is a spectacular piece that I guarantee you no one else in the office will have. It has a handsome dial that offers both colors and with the appliques a high quality and a high level of detailing hand assembled. Finally, this bracelet is modular and fully sizable. Every link can be removed to get just the right fit, but it's also slick on a strap, as the reference 3227-02. We had one back in the Watch You Want days, and it's killer. 120 meters water resistant, guys, and anti-magnetic. This is tough stuff. Finally, models on both strap and bracelet should be easily obtainable for around $4,000 with all boxes and papers unrefinished. This is a watch that I would buy myself, and I can't think of a better candidate for a graduate. All that said, you could go new and buy yourself the new Engineer Chronograph Edition Rudolph Caracciola, the 3807. Now, I will also say that this watch is the most appealing of the current Ingenieurs, a chronograph purchased new, made in 2017, of 750 pieces, 42 millimeters in steel with a handsome stitched calfskin strap. Best dial by far among these contenders. You can see the gorgeous anthracite sunburst and splashes of color with a little vintagey loom thing going on to celebrate the vintage heritage evoked by Rudolph Caracciola, a Swiss-German race driver of the interwar years. $7,150, and you get a warranty. Guys, I want to finish off with a question from Andrew Barnes, who asks me, Tim, what do you think of the F.P. Journe Black Label Chronomètre Resonance and the Tourbillon Souverain in regards to fair market price and future value retention purchasing on the secondary market? I'm hearing rumors that there will be a new Resonance. So the current Black Label would be the Resonance 3. And it's had a relatively short run from 2010 to the present. So I would say buy that one with the likelihood that it will be replaced soon, because that will up its value on the secondary circuit. Every time a Journe becomes unavailable, people frankly go crazy over it. Even when it was the 38mm case that no one bought, that suddenly became the new hotness, despite being the old coldness. We don't know. All we know is people have discontinued Journe. That said, you also ask about the Tourbillon Souverain in Black Label. In regards to fair market price and future value retention, I think there are more versions of the Tourbillon out there, so it's a little bit less collectible, even though objectively it's less common than the Resonance. People love all versions of the Tourbillon, whereas it's really only the Resonance 1 and 2 that collectors love at the moment. I would say that the Resonance, being more accessible price-wise, also has a larger market of people who will buy it more readily. So between the two, go with the Resonance, especially since the current model is likely to be discontinued soon. Finally, Steve Play says, Tim is about to run out of wins. No! I've done an hour of watches, but we're going to keep this one manageable for those who are watching it recorded. I want to thank everyone who tuned in live. I could go all night, guys. I'm going to be on the forums talking about watches tonight, so follow me on Instagram after the show at Tim_Masso, and if you're watching this recorded, comment, and subscribe. We'd all really appreciate it here at Watchbox Studios. Until then, I'm Tim, this is Watchbox, they're the crew, and thanks for logging on.